DNC Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz is getting a run for her money. Her opponent, Tim Canova, has managed to outraise her for the last 3 months in a row. Now, according to FAC filings, his campaign, Canova's campaign, reported raising about $1.7 million between April 1st and June 30th, while Debbie Wasserman Schultz brought in about $1.3 million. Now, that's a lot of money when compared to a House race. Senate races are actually much more expensive. So this is actually a lot of money for a House race. That's amazing. And so Tim Canova actually brought in $400,000 more than Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the establishment favorite. This is kind of amazing. Now, for those of you who don't know, who haven't been paying attention to what's going on in Florida, Tim Canova is a law professor that has had a very long and distinguished history of fighting against political corruption. He also fought against special interest money in politics, as well as the banking industry's efforts to deregulate. One example of that is when he was working in the 1990s, he actually opposed the effort to repeal Glass-Steagall. Okay, so they wanted to, repeal Glass-Steagall. They wanted to pass Gramm-Leach blindly, right? Which said, okay, let's get rid of that wall between investment banking and commercial banking, because trust me, it'll be great. It'll be tremendous. Donald Trump didn't actually have anything to do with this. But for some reason, I can't help but talk like that now. I've got like Trump on the brain. But anyway. So, in the 1990s, when they were trying to do that, Tim Canova was like, no, that's a bad idea. Do you know what's going to happen? Banks are going to start using depositor money to gamble in the Wall Street casino. That's a terrible idea. Why would you do that? And of course, the establishment, they could have laughed at him. That Tim Canova, come on. What are you thinking? No. We want to do that. We want to get rid of that wall so we can have that casino, because it's going to be endless profits with no risk to us. Sure, the risk is on you, but there's no risk for us. So let's go ahead and get rid of that rule. Obviously, we see how that turned out. Not very well for us. That's not to say that this had anything to do with the financial crash. Actually, the next thing actually did have something to do with the financial crash. See, Tim Canova also tried to warn people about these derivatives. Derivatives, the derivatives market had something to do with the financial crash of 2008. You had bad mortgage-backed securities, which were part of these. Look, it gets pretty complicated into what role the derivatives actually played in this. And that's not really the focus right now. The focus is that Tim Canova was actually on the right side of this regulation. Of saying, hey, look, he's on the right side of the argument as well as the regulation. He says, don't get rid of the wall between investment banking and commercial banking. Okay, and also watch out for derivatives. Watch out! These are bad news. Something bad's going to happen. Of course, the establishment sits there and laughs at him and says, yeah, don't worry about that guy. He's not with us. And by us, I mean Debbie Wasserman Schultz and people like her. People who actually got a lot of money from the financial industry. Now, just like Debbie Wasserman Schultz has gotten a lot of money from the banking industry, securities and investment. Now, as you can see, he was actually quite progressive on a lot of issues, especially on on economics and banking regulation. Now, his fundraising boost is because he was endorsed recently by Bernie Sanders. Well, not recently, it was back in May. But also a lot of people, turns out they don't really like Debbie Wasserman Schultz. A lot of progressives, especially during this primary, viewed her as playing favorites with Hillary Clinton, because she had once served as Hillary Clinton's campaign chair in 2008. They've got a kind of a tight relationship. The fact that we had some debates at pretty odd times when Debbie Wasserman Schultz was planning these debates, at the times they were almost like people wouldn't watch them. Okay? You had like an all-star game or something on at the same time as the debate. What do you think people are going to watch? They're not going to watch that debate. Now, the Republican Party is far different. They actually had primetime debates, and they had Donald Trump, who's a magnet for viewers. Everybody tuned in to see what kind of crazy shit he's going to say next. But for the Democrats, they put him on at crazy hours where, competing with programs that are actually much more popular. So they didn't get a lot of eyeballs. And therefore, Bernie Sanders didn't get a lot of eyeballs. That helped Hillary Clinton because she was already the presumed favorite. And guess what? She pretty much has the nomination at this point. It's almost not even a question. Sorry, guys. It's not a question. The superdelegates are not going to flip. She's pretty much got the nomination at this point. So, look, a lot of that stuff, we look at that and say, well, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, head of the DNC, controls a lot of this stuff. Well, gee, it kind of looks like she's playing favorites. Kinda. Anyway, so not a favorite, definitely not a favorite with us progressives, especially ones who backed Bernie Sanders. Now, there's another thing that plays in Canova's favor right now, and that's because that Wasserman Schultz is actually really close to the payday loan industry. Now, the payday loan industry is basically nothing more than a debt trap. Okay, it gets people into a vicious cycle of debt where they have to borrow to cover the interest, which is sometimes 300 to 1,000%, or 300 to 1,000%. There's a lot of interest on that because it's essentially a loan. These are terrible predatory loans. And she was on the side of payday loan industry, payday lenders. That's amazing to me. Not very progressive. Now, where did he get most of his money? Well, he got a lot of his money from people, not corporations. However, the Hill notes that despite Canova's fundraising burst, in their words, he ended May with $986,344 on hand compared to the $1.6 million that Wasserman Schultz has. So even though he raised a ton of money just recently, he's still behind. So look, that shows it. He might need a little extra fundraising help. There are Bernie-crats like him that are running all over the country right now on progressive values. They also need help. So, if you're unsure now that Bernie Sanders is essentially, yes, he's still technically in the race, but he's not actually running, and he's already endorsed Hillary Clinton. If you're wondering where to put your money and you're not sure about Jill Stein, well, the best place that you could put it then is one of these down-ballot progressives. People that aren't running for president but are running for office and could tip the balance of power in favor of progressives, of liberals. Give Bernie Sanders and other progressives in Congress some allies. If you do that, that's going to help bring about actual progressive change. And I think that's a good place to put your money. So if you want to find somebody to topple Debbie and have a real progressive in Congress from Florida, maybe check out Tim Canova, maybe give him a little help, and check out some of the other Bernie-crats that are running as well. Because they're out there and they need help.